I went on a run in the rain the other day. I went out with each step I took, my shoes got heavier and heavier and less white. The rain coming down made this beautiful little drumming sound on each of the puddles, doing little dances as they splashed into the puddles and became one with them. When you go out in the sunshine, you can pretty much walk down the street, you can see any type of person, right? It's not the case when you go out in the rain. You only see a specific type of person, just one. And that's the type with the bravery to be out in the rain. It's a different feel, it's a different vibe. You know, the air there's a sweetness to it. A sensualness to it. Close to the university, I saw this car and it was on. Lights were on, motor was on, inside lights were on, outside lights were on. And yet there was no one in it. It was just parked, running, not moving. I assumed that maybe a teacher had parked it, run into a classroom real quick to grab something and was going to come back out, but he was nowhere to be seen. And I passed the car and I kept walking and I kept looking back just to kind of check on it, like, would someone just jump in the car and steal it? I mean, they could. Would I do that? Probably not. And I was within sight of the car for some time and I kept looking back and nobody appeared. That car could still be there today. On campus there was a tour, a group of people doing a tour, and everyone had a different color umbrella. There was a girl in front, her umbrella was red and white. She was walking backwards, guiding the people, talking about the campus, talking into this microphone. This microphone made her voice sound completely like a robot. If you stood right in front of her, you could make out what she was saying, but if you were a little far away or to the side, it couldn't understand a word. It sounded like German. I tried to take a little break from the rain for a bit. Under the library, there's this sort of tunnel that's formed. So I went down in there. There's some places you can sit. Unfortunately, the sort of way the building is shaped, it just, in that little tunnel where you're safe from the rain, it just creates this like wind vortex. So it's actually a lot colder in there than it was out in the rain. That's when I started heading home. On the way back, I saw this girl coming out of her apartment. She gave me this huge smile, but it was almost completely covered by this giant hoodie she had on. She had 2 dogs with her. I was walking away, I just heard her saying, "Go to the bathroom." To the dogs, of course, not to me. A little ways later, on my left, I saw this car and there was a window missing, right? You could see there was some plastic that had been put up at some point to cover, but I'm assuming that with the rain and the wind, the plastic was no match. So the plastic had just kind of fallen to the bottom of the window and rain was just going straight in. I imagine that seat was very, very wet. And it was the driver's side window, so that there's no avoiding that seat. Anyone who used that car was going to feel the wrath of a wet seat, which is one of the worst sensations. You can put a towel down, but still, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. Not that I really have enemies, which either makes me incredibly boring or just a normal person. So I guess both. Finally made it home. I gotta feel that sweet sensation of taking off wet clothes, throwing them in the laundry, jumping in the shower and feeling my goose-bumped skin slowly return to its normal state. I put on some face moisturizer. I comb my hair a bit with my fingers. My sister tells me not to do that because apparently hands are very oily and that oil ends up in your hair. But, if I had a brush, I would use a brush. But I don't have a brush, so I have to use my fingers. The rain has a way of turning just a normal hour out in the world into an adventure.